and welcome to the IAMPRO podcast. It's all very exciting. This is where you get the nitty gritty with some of the UK's most brilliant and well-known actors. Today's guest I have been trying to pin down for quite a while. Our careers have taken quite a similar journey. We started out at the same age in a very similar but different way. Georgia Taylor began her career on the cobbles of Coronation Street in 1997. And like me, she's been in and out of the long-running soap. She's currently very much in and has come to share her journey and juicy tips on how she has become an award-winning actress. Welcome, Georgia.
Oh, darling, what a nice intro. Thank you.
It's very well deserved. It's amazing to have you because we've been trying to do this for a little while now and we're here.
I know, third time lucky, I think, isn't it, with schedules and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I'm glad we're getting to do it.
Yes, me too. So, Georgia, I would start these questions, these little Q&As with why acting for you? Where did it all begin?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't know if you're the same, but I don't come from a particularly theatrical family. I mean, theatrical in spirit. Like my grandma on my mum's side was very eccentric, but she nothing to do with the industry. So I don't know. Well, I do. I remember being at primary school and in our last year of primary school, so I would have been 10, 11, we had quite a progressive teacher, and he was like, right, we're going to put on the show, we're going to do some Shakespeare. So bear in mind we're 10, 11, and he chooses, I can say it on here because we're not in a theatre, but he chooses Macbeth. We're 10, 11 years old. I get cast as Lady Macbeth. So all these really complex and very dark themes that none of us understand. And we never actually got to put the show on because I think he had to have an operation or something. But we went through the rehearsal process and I did the whole out damn spot scene as 11 years old. And I remember just going, oh, I kind of like this something. And I was quite shy as a child, but that, as is often the way, isn't it? That sort of brought something out in me. And then I got to secondary school and then was more involved in school plays. And then when I was about 13 or 14, I started going to youth theatre in Wigan, where I grew up. And then, yeah, that was it for me. I was like, there's nothing else I want to do.
So, I mean, our journeys get even more similar because I did Lady Macbeth as well when I was at school at a very young age. When you were doing the youth theatre, is that, did you get an agent with that? Is that how that started professionally for you?
Yeah, so it was a youth theatre called Willpower in Wigan, and which still exists, and it's still run by the same lovely woman, Caroline, and it's brilliant. And I used to go to classes every Saturday, get the bus into Wigan, go and do that for a few hours. Also did like summer schools and stuff, put shows on at Christmas. Yeah, and I'd been going there for a couple of years, I think, and she ran predominantly a children's agency in Manchester. And she said, oh, we'd be happy to take you on if you consider we can get you some headshots done. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, of course. And then I remember like the first couple of auditions, I think the first audition I went to was, and this dates it, was for a Woolworths training video. So you had to go in and kind of like, it was basically teaching the staff like, don't sell aerosols to kids. It was like that whole time. I didn't get that. And actually a friend of mine who was in the same youth theatre, she got it. So it was my first experience of A, not getting a job, and B, how complicated it can sometimes feel when a friend of yours gets the job. Because you're happy for them. It's just a weird feeling, isn't it? Because you're like, oh, I wanted that for myself, but I'm really happy that my friend's got it and she's lovely. So that was my first experience of those kind of feelings. And then, yeah, just had a few little bitty auditions, and then Judy Hayfield, who was a really prolific casting director at Granada, was working on Coronation Street, and she was very much, and I'm sure Enders is the same, about getting kids in from like local agencies, local theatre groups, all the kind of Manchester kids. So she got me in to read for a different character, which I didn't get, which went to the lovely Joanne Froggatt. So Jo did that, and then Judy got me back in a couple of months later to read for Toyah, and then I went to about 6 auditions. Like, they really put me through it. And rightly so, because I had no professional experience. I think a lot of it, they just want to make sure that you're emotionally up to what this job is going to bring for you and that you're going to be able to handle it. So I think a lot of it was that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all came from youth theatre.
Wow. And I mean, it's grueling, so they would definitely,
Mm.
it's a test, isn't it?
Mm.
And you
Yeah,
said
yeah.
you were at school, you were a bit shy and didn't have confidence. You find this
Hmm.
quite often with a lot of actors I speak to, and then they find drama.
Hmm.
How much has it helped with all that for you?
Yeah, hugely. I just feel like, I mean, I probably was almost a different person to my drama teacher than I was to, say, my geography teacher. Do you know what I mean? I think they were all seeing different sides of me. And I was a little swot and I was quite studious and I did sort of keep my head down. But just starting to explore the creative side, I guess, and doing drama classes and school plays and stuff, I don't know, I just found like a freedom with it. And I felt like I got over quite a lot of embarrassment and self-consciousness, because as soon as you start performing, you have to put yourself in situations that sometimes feel a bit embarrassing or a bit uncomfortable. And because I got such a buzz from performing, it helped me to do that. And I think that will help anyone in all aspects of your life to just like not be afraid of just making a bit of a fool of yourself and just trying stuff.
Yeah. And learning to trust yourself as well,
Yeah.
It's taken me a while to do that, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to Coronation Street. Could anything have prepared you for that roller coaster that I have to say 1997, 98 when I think I was 98, 99 when I went into EastEnders. Soaps were the thing. That is what everybody was watching, like 16, 20 minute
Yeah.
viewers. There were only 4 channels, or there might have been a few more, but these were the main things. And it's a ride, isn't it? Did you
Yeah.
were you prepared for that? And did it take you by surprise?
Oh my God, I was so not prepared. I was so not prepared because, and I think in a way, maybe it was good that I just rolled with it. It was
Mm,
like, okay, today we're going to turn up at Coronation Street and we're going to do this massive press call with like 30, 40 photographers all lined up, taking pictures of us as a family. This was before we'd even started filming. And, this is just so bizarre to me, but I'm just going, okay, what do you want me to wear? Where do you want me to stand? I'm so just taking it little step by step because I've no idea really what I'm doing.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, and as you say, at that time we didn't have social media, but what we did have was the tabloids were king. So you'll remember this, all those, especially the Sunday papers. It was just, it was all about the soap stars. It was like who's shagging who, allegedly, who's doing this, trying to catch people out. It was just, there was just a real, people's phones getting hacked, all of that. There was a real culture of just, yeah, it was quite a sort of dark period, I think, really, certainly in this country, the way that the tabloids were. Now, luckily, I think because I was so young and I wasn't really getting up to much, or if I was, being careful about it, that I got away, not got away with, but I wasn't I wasn't like a sexy character. I was playing a 14-year-old, I was a little bit chubby. No one's interested in my sex life, and if they are, there's something wrong with them. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I could see other
Yeah.
people I was working with experiencing that kind of level of scrutiny that luckily pretty much avoided. But in terms of, you know, suddenly just getting on the bus and feeling like every single person knows who you are, that's just, so life changing. And I think, I mean, weirdly, I do kind of think I took it in my stride in a way that astonishes me now, because I actually feel I think I dealt with it better then. Now I don't know if you find this, and people are always lovely, but there are some days when you just think, oh God, I just want to go and do my shopping, and I just don't want people looking at me.
Mm.
But when I was 17, I was just like, oh okay, yeah, cool, I'm doing this job, it's wicked, just
Yeah.
getting on with it.
Well, we change, don't we? And years and years of
Mm,
doing that, I think, on days
mhm.
feeling particularly sad or self-conscious, it's not
Yeah.
me, because we are living our dreams and doing something amazing, but it can be challenging,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, creating Toyah Battersby, did you have
Mm.
any idea of what your character would be, and how did you approach the auditions for them?
Mm. So we were basically they wanted us to be the family from hell. So it was just bigger, brasher, bolder. It was a kind of performance style that was very of the time. I think soaps are, I would say, a bit more naturalistic now. But back then it was big, it was brash. Um, they wanted us to come in and just shake the cobbles up. So what it meant was that I'm thinking specifically of Jane Danson and I, who I know you know, who
Yeah.
plays Leanne. So we were brought in together as sisters. We were having scenes with people like, Rita and Mavis and Percy Sugden, all these legends, and we had to be vile to them. We had to be rude. We were fagging. We were chucking our cigs. We were knocking stuff out. I mean, it was kind of terrifying to be behaving that, even though we were acting, but to be behaving that way in front of those kinds of people,
Yeah.
who all pretty much took it with good grace, because it was the job. But yeah, I think I was really because I would say that of the four of us, the family members, I was, well, certainly the least experienced and possibly the least confident, probably, in fact, definitely the least confident. So I kind of let myself be almost dragged along by them, in that their performances at this level, if I'm feeling a little bit shy, well, tough, I need to drag myself up so that we're all in the same place. And just not be frightened of yeah, being quite big with it, in a way that as I say, characters evolve, and I'm now playing a character who is 40 years old, and she's not going to be that 17-year-old bratty, 14-year-old bratty kid, so things evolve. But certainly at the time, it was just looking at the people around me and trying to learn from them and go, what are they doing? I need to make sure I'm giving as much as they are.
So it's just remaining teachable at all times, actually, isn't it? And being brave
Mm.
and committing to something.
Yeah. Oh God, absolutely. And you still, you just, that's what is so brilliant about our job, is that you learn all the time, don't you? You're constantly working, you work with someone new who just does things in a certain way, and you go, gosh, I never thought about it like that. Or it can be as simple as, I'm working with someone who is so brilliant that they're inspiring me, and I don't want to drop the ball
Yeah.
because of what they're doing. I need to keep it up. So that's when you're working with great people, you just want to be better, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What do you say is the most important and best thing that you've learned along the way?
Oh gosh, most important and best thing. Um, I think. Oh gosh, there's a few things. I think, and this sounds like a basic thing, but I think it really counts, is be professional.
Yeah.
Um, because there's no reason not to. And I hope, and I think I'm of the kind of um temperament that I hope that whatever job I'd have gone into, I hope, as I said, I'm a little swat. Like, I hope I'd have been like that. But I just think it just makes everybody's day so much more pleasant. And so just be on time, do your work, know your lines, hit your mark. Because the thing is, if you do all of those things and you do the prep and you're ready to go, that's when you can have fun. And
Yeah.
if you haven't done those things and you're going, oh shit, I don't know what these lines are, then you're not going to be able to enjoy it and have fun. So I think always just, prepare as much as you can, and then you can be free on the day, and then you can play more. And yeah, and as I said, just constantly, I came into this job with no experience, and I was very aware of that. And I didn't, in terms of technically, I'd never worked in front of cameras. I didn't have, can I swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
Can I swear?
I
Yeah,
swear
I
all
was
the
going to say, I was like, I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing. So very early on, I was just watching everyone, watching, listening, asking questions. And luckily,
time.
because I was with Jane, who was much more experienced than I, but of a very similar age and very kind and generous, I was constantly saying to her, "What does that mean? What does that mean? What are we doing? What's a wild track? Where do I start?" And she was so patient with me and never patronising. So I think look to people, ask questions. If someone asked me something, I'd be so encouraged by the fact that they wanted to learn or that they felt that I could help them in any way. So it's never a bad thing.
Yeah. Do you have a process, Georgia, and how has it evolved? Like the way you approach
Gosh,
a
I
story,
don't know.
character.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's different every time. And certainly it's been, I'm sure you'll have found this, but going from soap to leaving and doing a bit of theatre or doing a bit of film, or the process of doing that job is so different. So I think on something like Corrie or Enders, you have to make really quick decisions, because there's no time for rehearsal, and you're lucky if you get 2 takes. So you have to trust your instincts, make quick decisions. Sometimes you'll get it wrong, but you've got the chance the next day to do something else and do it better. But you've got to make quick decisions. And so when I then moved into other realms, so like doing theatre work and having 5 weeks rehearsal, I kind of had to learn to not make such quick decisions. So, coming to a rehearsal room on day one and not go, right, I've got my performance all keyed up, I know exactly how I'm going to play every scene, I know all the lines, boom. And it's like, no, you need to break all that down again, and we're going to talk about the text, and we're going to do this, and we're going to improvise, and and all this stuff that I didn't really have experience of before that, because I'd only known Corrie. Was having to just find a different way of working. So I suppose what I'm saying is I don't have one process. I think I just allow myself to be led by the job and go, right, what does this require of me?
Yeah.
I remember actually I did a play at the Royal Exchange in Manchester quite a few years ago. And the director, Sarah Fraser, she really made us do a lot of homework. So it was only a 3-hander. And we were getting to grips with the text and the blocking pretty quickly. It was pretty straightforward as a piece. It wasn't a complicated piece in terms of set or anything. It was about the script. But she'd have us she'd go, right, I want you to go back home tonight and I want you to write a diary in the voice of your character.
Right.
And then another time she said, right, I want you to come in tomorrow and I want you to pick a song, a piece of music from that period, and I want you to perform a dance in character in your character's bedroom to that song, and then explain why you chose that song and what the story is. And these are the kind of things where you go, oh my God, this is so cringe. But again, you have to open yourself up and go, right, I'm here to do the job. This is her process. She's the director. So, okay, I might feel a bit embarrassed, but I'm gonna put some Blondie on because it was set in the 80s, and I'm gonna dance, and this is what I'm gonna do. So yeah, I think not one process, just be flexible, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
How amazing to have worked with Sarah Fraser as well. I mean, I'm a big fan of her.
Mm.
And
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Isn't she? Was that a good working experience for you?
Oh yeah, oh my God, it was amazing. It was a play called Christmas is Miles Away, and we did it in the studio at the Royal Exchange, written by Chloe Moss, I must say, because she's a fantastic playwright. And then it went so well that we then transferred to the Bush
Wow.
in London. So I got to have another. So that joy, of when you do a play, and and I was so sad that it was coming to an end because it was a really short run. And then we kind of got word that like the Bush might be interested, and so then we got to do it all over again. So
Sure.
yeah, that was a joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. There's always such a sadness, isn't there, when a play. I think the relationship and connections that are built within a rehearsal room doing a play, and whether you're on tour in town, at the Exchange, wherever you are, is so different from any other job. It's so intense and all encompassing in so many ways, isn't it? Like with soap, everyone goes
Yeah,
into a new job, you go home. It's kind of it feels slightly different, but with a play, when you've all just trying to create
yeah,
this thing out of nothing
hmm
with a brilliant group of
yeah,
people, and there's such a sadness when that's over.
yeah. No, I think you're right, and I think with something like a soap, we are close and we are social and we hang out, but it's much more like a normal job, I guess, because you're doing it every day.
Mm,
You're going home. Most people are going home to their family and their housework and their admin and whatever else. I think when you're doing a play, often if it's a shorter period, I think people give themselves over to that more. So maybe shut off other aspects of their life. They're
yeah,
potentially away from home, probably away from home. So the play becomes everything, doesn't it? So then those people that you're working with become everything in
yeah.
a way that I think, yeah, I think it is a different thing.
Do you feel nerves? Do you get nervous?
Mm. Oh my God, yes. I'll tell you what I do. I really do. And I feel nervous, like even, and I've been chatting about this recently with friends at work, is because the way that a soap works, we have such an enormous cast. So you have busy periods, you have moderate periods, you have very quiet periods. And I went from having a crazy busy year last year to a much, much quieter one this year, which has been fine. But when I have like a few weeks off from work, and it could literally be 3 weeks, when I'm then driving back through those gates at ITV, I'm just feeling a little bit of something. And I'm like, God, I've been here for years. It's fine. I think I kind of know what I'm doing. It'll be okay. I know these people. No one's out to get me. We're all here for the same reason. But I do get those little kind of butterflies again. And I think it's probably good because I think it shows you give a shit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do still get nervous.
Leaving Corrie, Georgia, was that a big decision for you?
Mm.
Because like you, I've sort of gone in and out and in and out and in and out.
Hmm.
You know, yeah, talk me through that decision-making process as an actress for you.
Yeah, I think I can't remember too much. I mean, it was a long time ago. So I left. Gosh, so I left in January 2003. So we're talking 20 years ago when I left.
Gosh.
Um, and yeah, and it was the only professional job I'd ever done. And I just knew that I wanted to do other things. It was never, you know, and I have huge respect for, I have colleagues who have gone into the job as a teenager and have stayed for 40 years. And I think that takes incredible tenacity, actually, because it can be tough. So I applaud them. But for me, I just knew there was something else in me, and I just wanted to explore, and I just wanted to do something different. And also, I was so young that I didn't have loads of responsibilities. I had a little flat in sort of little modest flat in town. It wasn't like I had extortionate bills and things. And yeah, I just thought if I'm going to do it, this is the time to do it. And then so yeah, so I did. But yeah, I don't remember it being. It didn't feel like a very complicated decision. I just always knew that I wanted to do theatre and just different TV jobs and just see how much I could learn as a performer, I guess.
And how long were you out for? Have you just left once and then gone back?
Yes. So I was out for 13 and a half years.
Wow, long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how was it? How was that experience going from sort of the full-time employment? And I ask because I've struggled with it on at times. You make the decision,
Mhm.
which actually I think felt a bit more weighty to me. I was like, oh my God, am I mad? What am I doing? But I can't sit still for very long. I want change. And then
Mhm.
me, when
Mhm.
I didn't work, I've found that very, very hard, actually. And what I've
Mhm.
learned, I'm quite validated by my work, which I'm working, it's work in
Mhm.
progress. But I just
Mhm.
wondered if you experienced a similar thing, and yeah, how was it for you?
Yeah, very up and down, very up and down. I just remember those first couple of jobs I did that were sort of little jobs where I was playing like a guest on something. Um, just having that sort of new girl at school feeling, and having going from being part of a family at Coronation Street where people had really looked after me actually and really nurtured me as I'd grown up, and then suddenly having to just walk into a room and say hi, I'm Georgia, and introduce myself and feel like you're just starting all over again. And sometimes you go, gosh, that takes quite a lot of energy, doesn't it, to be presenting yourself as a new person over and over and over. So sometimes that took a bit of effort. And yeah, like you, I had periods where I wasn't working. I had, which I found most demoralizing actually, when I had periods when I wasn't even getting meetings.
Yeah.
So I think if you're at least going up for stuff, there is a possibility, isn't there? You go, well, there's a possibility because I've got this audition and I've got that and I've got something to work on. I'm using my brain. But when you get those dry spells where you're just not even getting in the door, then that's I do struggle with that. But then I also think some of the highs I've experienced in that gap between my two slices of bread that are Coronation Street, that I've had some incredible jobs and some incredible experiences and met some extraordinary people. So I think the highs did outweigh the lows, but the lows have definitely been there. It's not been smooth sailing at all. Definitely not.
How do you cope with that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'm better at other times than coping with it. Sometimes it's something as simple as getting into a routine, which for me could be something like just, you know, setting an alarm every day, not super early, but just so you're not sleeping the day away. Setting an alarm, getting up, going for a run, maybe trying to meet a friend for a coffee, using that time, doing stuff, in the house. Are there any jobs that I want to do? People always say when you've got a quiet spell, use that time to do the things that you won't be able to do when you're busy. And you can kind of feel yourself going, oh no, but I don't feel like it. And it's like, no, actually do whatever you can to make you feel like you've achieved something in that day. And it might be something as simple as, and I did do this a little bit when I had a more recent quiet spell. I was like, I'm just going to read some plays because I didn't go to drama school. I
Same.
feel like so I feel like there are all these, well, of course, there are all these classic plays and there are all these things that people talk about in our business. And it's like a second language. And they go, oh, yes, that reminds me of Such a Body's Such a Thing in The Seagull. And you sort of sit there going, uh-huh. And you think, I don't know what you're talking about. So I went through a phase of going, I'm just going to, and I was with and my partner at the time was also an actor. So like we had a bookshelf full of plays. So I was like, I'm just going to read a play. That's what I'm going to do this afternoon. Because who knows, in 10 years' time, I might get an audition for that play.
Yeah.
And also, I just feel like in some way I'm just educating myself a little bit. So, yeah, so those are and just try and keep in touch with people and check in with other mates of yours that are in the business. I think are good ones because they get it, and just meet them for a brew and go, do you know what, it's shit at the moment, I'm really struggling. Just try and have those conversations with people.
Yeah, be open and don't be afraid of the fears of saying that
Mm-hmm.
out. I love cleaning out a cupboard.
Mm-hmm.
I clean out a cupboard and I'm happy as Larry.
Oh yeah, but then Charlie, did you do these things? This is what I do when I clean out a cupboard. I then leave the room, walk back in, open up the cupboard as if to go right, and then just like keep doing it, just keep going, oh god, that just looks amazing.
That was so good.
Like
Yeah,
congratulate yourself. Yeah.
I do that. And the other thing I do, and I'm doing recently, is trying to get through all the films on the BFI. And I've got the subscription on Amazon, which is really good. And I'm sort of a bit obsessed with British film at the moment. So I just want to know who
Mm,
the filmmakers are and, what they're doing. And
yeah.
I watched Scrapper recently. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's
No,
brilliant.
I've not.
Oh, this
Okay.
young girl, so the director's name is this young girl called Charlotte Regan, and she's made this film about grown up on an estate basically, and she said working class
Mhm.
life is so bleak, it's portrayed so bleakly in British film. So it's kind of like
Mm.
Wes Anderson meets Ken Loach, and it's just so good.
Mm.
So I'm like sending it all to my daughter, educating myself, and you can constantly learn, can't you, these things? And you know,
Yeah.
there's and then you're showing up for yourself and you feel good about doing something. Who's the producer of that? I'd love to work with them. Let's send an email to that person. How will
Yeah.
I, you know,
Mhm.
there's always
Yeah.
a very achievable action that you can take, I think.
Yeah.
Those times in unemployment where I'm like, I'm never gonna work again.
Yeah. Oh
um,
God, yeah. But yeah, you're right. The little things where you, like I say, like you're saying, like I'm gonna watch, a kind of a British film, or I'm gonna, yeah, read a book, read a play, just any of those things. I think just keep yourself, keep that creative part of yourself just stimulated, so you don't just feel like you're being bogged down in the sort of mundane bits of life, really.
yeah, exactly. Um, we are nearly at the end of our little chat, but Georgia,
Oh
did
my
you?
God, it's felt like 5 minutes.
I know, I told you it'd go quick. It just flies, doesn't it?
Gosh,
What
yeah.
advice do you have for people that younger and older, our IAMPRO community covers so many different
Mm.
ages, for people
Mhm.
trying to break into the industry, and it's tough. It's so hard. So what
Mm.
advice would you have?
Yeah, it's difficult because and I'm sure you're the same, but I do get asked this. I've been asked this before, and certainly by sometimes it'll be like, oh, my mum's neighbour's daughter wants to be, and then people go, oh, can you offer any pearls of wisdom? And I always feel like a bit of a fraud because I do think my path was quite unusual, and I was lucky. I was really lucky. Not everybody gets an audition for Coronation Street. Just seems to, yeah, I felt like I worked hard, and I did work hard, and I do work hard, and I acknowledge that. But I also was very lucky, and that you can't, I don't know how, whether you can manifest luck. I don't know if you can, but I think just find as many ways to be creative as you can. And we see it all the time, and I've done this myself. Is I've done like lots of like short films with people. Try and make those connections. It doesn't have to be. It's not necessarily going to be the big job of a lifetime straight off the bat. It can take a really long time, but even if you're doing a bit of writing, or if you're taking part in like a student film or any of those things, you're going to take a little bit of something away from each thing that you do.
Mm.
So yeah, just try and find ways to do that. And I think also, and this I think is a harder thing, and I think I'm still working on this, but just try and know your worth as well. I think what's difficult is when you're starting out, you feel like you have no agency. You feel like you can't say no to anything. You feel like you should be so grateful for everything. And yes, you can be grateful, but also don't allow yourself to be walked over. And I know that's a really fine line, and I say that to myself every day. Just have integrity, know who you are, know that you can stand up for yourself, know if something feels wrong, in your gut, if you go, this doesn't feel right. And yeah, and just try and kind of walk forward with a sense of pride, know how hard you work yourself, know that you are of value. And hopefully you will attract like-minded people to be, creative with together.
Yeah. Can I just pick up on something there before we finish? Really good advice.
Yeah,
And community and
yeah.
collaboration and surrounding yourself with the right people is something I talk about
Hmm.
all the time. I think is so important. You said the
Yeah.
word fraud,
Mm.
felt like a fraud. And
Mm.
can you talk to me a little bit more about that? Because I've had similar feelings around that.
Mm.
And why do you think that is in your story? And how did you overcome that if you have?
Mm. I think perhaps traditionally there was, or there perhaps still is, but maybe not as much now, um, a sort of route that people took into the business. And that was, you go to drama school for 3 years, you get your degree, you do your showcase, you hopefully get an agent, all of that. None of that happened for me. And it was my intention to go to drama school, but I very luckily got this job on Coronation Street when I was out of school. And 9-month contract snowballed and became 5 years, and then the rest is history. But I am aware that as much as I learnt on the job, and I learnt things on the job that people at drama school are not being taught, there was a lot of stuff, like we talked about, the the classic plays and the Shakespeare and all of that, that I missed out on. And it's that classic thing for me, and it's happened so many times, where you've been in a rehearsal room or a green room, and you hear that question, and that question is, where did you train? And I just immediately go, because it's almost like, because I don't have this banner of an exclusive and very respected drama school that I went to, that I can wave around and go, oh, I went to RADA, I went to Lambda. Because I don't have that, it would sometimes make me feel like, oh gosh, they're just gonna think, what's this kid doing here? Like, what's she got to offer?
Yeah.
But I do think the business is changing. I think for a start, a lot of people can't afford to go to drama school, so that is shutting that whole avenue off to a lot of people. But people are coming up in different ways now, and I also think, when I was asked that question many times, where did you train? Where did you train? Where did they go around the group? And you're like, oh crap. It was more my perception of how I thought they would react, rather than how they actually did react. So when you go, well, do you know what? I actually was going to go to drama school, but then I got this job on Corrie, and I learned so much on the job, and usually people are quite respectful of that and go, oh my god, that's amazing, like, what was that like? So a lot of it's just in my head. It's just me going, oh, people
Yeah.
will think I'm not a proper actress.
I mean, I relate so hard. Now I really I
Yeah.
went to a drama school of sorts, but it was when I was a kid. So, and now I quite
Mm.
proudly, for years it's been an insecurity. Now I quite proudly go, oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets do you ever think, what if I did go to drama school and didn't take chorus?
Oh,
Do you ever think about that?
I mean, who knows? It's like, I could have gone to drama school and, come out, and as we see, for a lot of people, they give it a year or 2 years, it doesn't work out, they have to give it up, because
Yeah.
mentally, financially, emotionally, they can't. They go, okay, so I could have been one of those people, and then I could be doing something completely different.
Yeah.
Or I could have gone to drama school, learned loads, been plucked out of obscurity for some like really cool indie film that goes massive. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, you just
who knows? I think you never know. And I think for me, there've been ups and downs. There've definitely been more ups, than the ups have outweighed the downs. And I also feel like I am in an incredibly privileged position that, touch wood, and this might change, but for now, I have managed to survive and make a living as an actor. And that, I'm in the minority. We know how hard it is.
Yeah.
So I always just think, whatever people make of my CV, or whether it's varied enough, or whether it's cool enough or indie enough, the fact that I've managed to exist for the last 25 years, and I've kind of done okay, and I've been able to pay my bills, and I hope I'm a decent person to work with, and I have fun and I'm respectful on set. I kind of feel like that's okay. Like, that's not a bad thing to have done. So yeah.
That's more than okay. That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And you are amazing at
Oh,
what you do. You
oh,
really are.
darling, thank you.
Yeah. It's been an absolute honor to have you on here, Georgia. Thank you so much. I feel
Oh, thank
like
you, darling. It's a
we're
pleasure.
we're sisters somehow, because everything's so similar.
Yeah,
Everything, and I was like,
so
yeah, yeah.
similar. I know,
I know,
isn't
man.
it?
Mm. All right. Well, listen. Thank you for coming on IAMPRO. It's been an absolute joy to have you sharing your juicy
Oh,
insights, and
no, it's been a
look,
pleasure.
I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Definitely, and good luck with the rest of the West End run.
Thank you, darling. Bye.
Bye.